Welcome back to another episode of Empowerment and Illness. I am your host, Gwen, and today's episode is personal, it's real, and it's overdue. I want to talk to you heart to heart. What happens when you're too sick to speak? When you're drowning in symptoms but can't find the words to explain them? When the person you trust to help you just doesn't? I want to talk about the moments we're afraid to admit when we didn't know how to advocate for ourselves. I'll tell you my own story, but this isn't just about me. It's about what happens when healthcare systems fail us. It's about the danger of silence and the power of rising anyway. You'll walk away with practical tools, a deeper sense of validation, and a fire to demand more for your care. This is not just another story. This is your wake-up call. If you've ever been too sick to fight, too confused to speak, or too afraid to push back, this episode is for you. Before lupus, I had a stable, beautiful life. I was surrounded by friends, involved in church, singing in the choir. I had a job I loved and one that paid well. Overtime was always available, so finances were never concerned. And then came fatigue I couldn't explain. At first, I chalked it up to stress or overwork, so I pulled back. I stepped away from the choir. I canceled plans. I thought I just needed rest. But things didn't get better. They got worse. Eventually, it wasn't just fatigue. It was joint pain, swelling, dizziness, confusion. I started making regular trips to the emergency room, desperate for help. But no one had answers. They ran tests, shrugged their shoulders, and told me to follow up with my doctor. And I did. That doctor prescribed medication after medication, each one targeting a single symptom. But he never referred me out, never escalated. He had me coming in every day for IVs, yet never once recommended hospitalization. At that time, I didn't know how to push back. I didn't know I needed to. I didn't know how to advocate or what advocating was. I was scared of what was happening to me, confused, too sick to fight, and that nearly cost me my life. We live in a healthcare system that isn't built for chronic illness. It's built for quick fixes and visible injuries. And when we don't fit that mold, when your symptoms are complex, invisible, or persistent, they make us feel like a lab experiment. That's not just poor care. That's systemic neglect. When my boyfriend at the time brought me to my sister's house, I could barely function. He told her she can't take care of herself anymore. My sister jumped into action, made calls, and got me an appointment with the rheumatologist. That rheumatologist admitted me the same day. Why? Because he listened. Because he looked. Because he cared. It was never about my condition being too complicated. It was that no one before him cared enough to investigate. And I know I'm not alone. Every week I hear stories like mine from this community. People dismissed, told it's just stress, treated as hysterical, waitlisted for months, gaslit into believing they're imagining it all. Let's be clear. This is not about rare experiences. It's about a system-wide epidemic of dismissal. Question: do you ever look back at your care and think, why didn't they take me seriously sooner? Do you feel like the system is a revolving door and it keeps pushing you out before you've even stepped fully in? Today, we have a name for it: medical gaslighting. It sounds fancy, even clinical, but the reality is ugly. It's doctors refusing to acknowledge your pain. It's being told your symptoms are all in your head. It's being treated like you're difficult for wanting answers. But here's the truth. Calling it gaslighting doesn't undo the damage. It doesn't rewrite the months or years you spent doubting yourself. It doesn't give back the job lost, the relationship strained, or the confidence stolen. It just gives us language. And while that's a start, it's not a solution. We can't stop at naming. We have to demand change. You still have to fight to be seen, to be heard, to be taken seriously. And I ask, why should we have to fight so hard for basic care? Some of the most heartbreaking stories I hear come from people in rural areas. People who have to drive 2 hours just to see a doctor. And when they get there, they're treated like a number. No compassion, no patience, just rushed appointments and subpar care. One woman told me her doctor went on vacation and told her she'd have to wait until they returned. There was no coverage plan, no colleague taking over their cases. Just wait. That's not care. That's abandonment. What message does that send? You're not important. You're not urgent. In rural communities, healthcare isn't a system. It's a lifetime with frayed ends. And when care is scarce, people feel trapped. They don't push back because they can't. That's the only doctor for miles. That's the only clinic accepting new patients. So they stay silent because the alternative is nothing. And that is what injustice in healthcare looks like. Power imbalance dressed up as protocol. Let's be honest. Advocating for yourself when you're sick, scared, and tired is one of the hardest things you'll ever have to do. But it's also one of the most necessary. You don't need a medical degree to ask questions. You don't need to be perfectly calm to demand a second opinion. You don't need to be liked by your doctor. You need to be safe. You need to be heard. And sometimes advocating means switching providers. It means saying no to a treatment that doesn't feel right. It means walking into that office with the binder full of notes and saying, "This is my life, and I need you to take it seriously." It's not about confrontation. It's about survival. Here are a few ways to begin. Bring someone with you to appointments. Record your symptoms with dates and photos. Ask for copies of everything. Speak up, even if your voice shakes. You deserve care that honors your humanity. This is your life, not a suggestion box. Question: do you ever wonder if your story can make a difference? One voice is a spark. A community of voices is a wildfire. Marinate on that. Individual advocacy is powerful, but it's not enough. Advocacy isn't just about what happens behind the exam door. It's what happens when we come together. We have to push for change together. That means demanding better training for doctors about chronic illnesses and autoimmune disease, supporting legislation that improves rural healthcare access, holding clinics accountable when they dismiss or mistreat patients, creating platforms like this podcast where we amplify stories, educate others, and refuse to stay silent. The more we share our stories, the more undeniable the pattern becomes. We're not just isolated incidents. We are a movement, a community of warriors refusing to be silenced. Advocacy is not just about one voice. It's about all of us rising together and saying no more. For our listeners' call to action, if you're experiencing symptoms that don't make sense, don't wait for permission. Push for referrals. Ask for answers. Your voice is your first tool for survival. Start tracking your care. Keep a record. Know who said what. This isn't paranoia. It's protection. If you've ever been dismissed, write it down. Share it. Tell your story. You're not alone, and your truth creates cracks in the system. If you live in a rural area, prepare Plan B. Know who the backup providers are. Build relationships with virtual care teams if possible. Choose one thing to advocate for this week. Request your lab reports. Change your doctor. Or prep a list of questions. Small steps are advocacy. Join advocacy efforts. Support chronic illness organizations. Become a subscriber to this podcast. Tell your story. Change starts with a whisper and becomes a roar. Before we leave, I would like to close with a special portion of the show I call Healing Heartbeats. This is where we allow ourselves to wallow in sorrow. Give yourself 3 minutes to laugh, cry, scream, cuss, or just sit in silence. Whatever you need to do to feel it, do it. Let the depression in for only 3 minutes. Once you've reached 3 minutes, compartmentalize it and get back to living. This is a rinse and repeat behavior. You cannot let depression take over, because when it does, it will not let go. When we hear about the passing of someone, they have the day they were born and the day they pass away. There is a dash in the middle. It's not a long line, but a short dash. That dash represents your life. Go live in spite of having a chronic illness. Don't let your condition stop you. I didn't know I needed a voice. I didn't recognize medical gaslighting. Someone advocated for me before it was too late. If you've ever walked out of a doctor's office and questioned your worth, I want you to hear me now. You matter. Your pain matters. Your voice matters. We are advocating together. We are done asking permission to be taken seriously. We are done being treated like mysteries or burdens. We are done shrinking so others can feel comfortable. We are done being handed excuses. This is your body. This is your life. You don't need permission to fight for it. And if you don't know where to start here, with this community, with this podcast, with me. We rise, we fall, we fight together, and together we change the narrative. Remember, you have the strength, the heart, and the support to continue your journey. Be safe.